Salt shot pistol is bone dry. You slam in a fresh cylinder and wheel on the kudzu wraith at 40 meters. A mid-range chemical blast catches it dead center, burning through the vine lattice before it can knit. The writhing tendrils char black and collapse into the floodwater. The drowned congregation are already gone. That last volley dissolved them, but the riverboat revenant is grinding closer through the mud, hull plates scraping. Reload fast, then incinerate riverboat revenant at 44 meters. Salt shot pistol is bone dry. You crack the cylinder, ram 6 fresh shells home, and level it at the riverboat revenant 44 meters out. A mid-range chemical blast catches the barnacled hull square on, blinding caustic salt eating through the plating and flash purging whatever unholy gristle holds that thing together. The revenant shudders, listing hard into the black floodwater, iron plates peeling, soft rot flesh exposed and steaming. Reload fast, then blast riverboat revenant at 44 meters. Salt shot pistol cracked open. You thumb 6 fresh shells into the chamber, bitter chemical reek cutting through the swamp rot. At 44 meters, the riverboat revenant's barnacled frame fills your sights. The blast catches it dead center, blinding chemical fire purging what little rotten hull armor remains and dropping it gurgling into the black floodwater. 2 drowned congregations still press in from the northwest, their unholy chorus rising with the iron bell's toll. Reload fast, then blast drowned congregation at 68 meters. Your operator cracks the salt shot pistol open, thumbs 6 fresh chemical rounds into the cylinder, and snaps it shut in one practiced motion, then levels the barrel northwest at the closer congregation pack wading through the kudzu arches. A blinding white chemical blast punches through the floodwater spray at 68 meters, catching the silhouettes full in the chest and purging their unholy shared buff before they can coordinate a rush. One collapses into the black water, the second staggers, scorched and blinded. Reload fast, then gun down drowned congregation at 74 meters. Salt shot pistol cracked open, spent shells hissing into the black floodwater, 6 fresh rounds rammed home in one practiced motion. You raise the barrel toward the lurching congregation figure at 74 meters and squeeze. The chemical blast catches it square in the chest, purging its unholy buff in a gout of white smoke before it collapses face down into the kudzu-choked gallery corridor. The iron bell tolls again overhead, its iron tongue swinging in the torquelet belfry. Reinforcements are already rising from the flood. Reload fast, then blast drowned congregation at 55 meters. Salt shot pistol is bone dry. You crack the cylinder, thumb in fresh rounds, and level the barrel on the 2 drowned congregation figures closing from your northeast. A pair of blinding white chemical blasts tear through them at 55 meters, the unholy buff stripped clean before they can coordinate their rush. Both dissolve in salt smoke and brackish spray against the waterlogged gallery columns. Reload fast, then incinerate drowned congregation at 60 meters. Salt shot pistols dry. You crack it open and feed 6 fresh shells, white chemical reek cutting through the floodwater stench. You pivot toward the 2 active congregation at 60 meters bearing 80 and 100, both barrels sending blinding chemical blasts that strip their unholy buff and drop them thrashing into the black water. The gallery goes quiet except for the bell's orange toll overhead. Incinerate drowned congregation at 60 meters and push forward hard. Salt shot pistols dry, you switch to the sawed-off gospel and push hard, unloading a devastating spread of rusted shrapnel into both drowned congregation clusters at close to mid-range as you surge forward through ankle-deep floodwater. The shrapnel tears through their waterlogged bodies, they dissolve into black silt and bilge foam before they can coordinate their unholy rush. The riverboat Revenant pivots on its barnacled mast to intercept, but you've bought yourself ground. Incinerate through the riverboat Revenant pack and hold submerged antebellum plantat. Your gospel is dry, 0 shells. You swap to the salt shot pistol and draw a bead on the riverboat Revenant's barnacled flank. A blinding chemical blast detonates against its hull plating, purging the unholy sheen and cracking the armored carapace wide open. The two drowned congregation flankers surge from the black water, but your blind congregation passive yanks them both forward into melee range. You drag the meat hook across the nearest one and drop it twitching into the flood. Reload fast, then gun down drowned congregation at 35 meters. Salt shot pistol is dry, you crack it open and thumb 6 fresh shells into the cylinder, brass glinting in the bell haze. You pivot and draw down on the drowned congregation at 35 meters, mid-range dead center for the pistol, and the chemical blast tears through the waterlogged zealot in a purging white column, the unholy buff stripped clean before it can howl. One less voice in the choir. Reload fast, then gun down riverboat Revenant at 52 meters. Salt shot pistol cracked open, spent casings hissing into the black floodwater. You slam 6 fresh rounds home and level the barrel at the barnacled shape drifting through the shattered columns. The chemical blast catches the riverboat Revenant dead center, stripping its hull plating and dropping it into the muck with a wet collapse. The iron bell tolls again through the bronze haze above. Reinforcements are already rising from the flood. Reload fast, then gun down drowned congregation at 38 meters. Salt shot cylinder is bone dry, you crack it open, jam 6 fresh rounds home, and level it at the drowned congregation surfacing 38 meters out. 3 blinding chemical blasts tear through the unholy choir, purging their shared buff and dropping them in the black water. The iron bell tolls again above, 2 more shapes are already rising from the murk. Reload fast, then gun down drowned congregation, fresh, at 55 meters. Salt shot pistol is bone dry, you crack the cylinder and thumb in fresh shells, the chemical rounds hissing against your damp coat. You level the barrel at the fresh drowned congregation surfacing at 55 meters and squeeze off a blinding chemical blast. The unholy choir chokes on burning salt, their shared buff purged, 2 of them dropping into the black water face down. Break away and take cover, pop jar of black locusts, then re-engage from safety. You brake hard. Left behind a collapsed marble pillar as black ichor sprays the colonnade. Then you hurled a jar of black locusts into the gallery floor. Gravity inverts in a thunderous shriek. The drowned congregation, the gunned down drowned congregation, fresh at 52 meters and push forward hard. Your salt shot pistol is bone dry. You slam it into your coat and haul out the sawed off gospel instead, crossing the gap fast. At 52 meters, the drowned congregation is too far for the spread to bite clean, but you close hard through ankle-deep black water, shrapnel chewing the front rank apart before they can lock into formation. Their unholy chorus fractures. Push doesn't stop. Break away and take cover. Pop jar of the curry column, black water spraying from your boots, and hurl your radius, ripping the kudzu wraith, river on empty and pivot to the gospel, barnacle armored riverboat revenant and the rust of black water. The congregation closes from the north screaming, strike rusted levee golem at 38 meters and keep pressing the objective. You swing to the salt shot pistol, gospel's dry and the golem's too far for shrapnel anyway. One chemical blast catches the corroded construct square in its rusted chest seam, purging oxidized plating and staggering it back through the flood. The drowned congregation wails closer, but the golem's joints are grinding, joints failing. It's not done, but it's bleeding iron. Break away and take cover, pop jar of black locusts, then re-engage from safety. You brake hard behind a collapsed colonnade, black water spraying around your boots, then hurl the jar of black locusts into the churning mass. The reversal field detonates. Every enemy in the parlor tears skyward, the rusted levee golem's corroded hull shrieking as it slams back down through the floorboards, the drowned congregation smashed apart on the ceiling beams before gravity reclaims them. At 14 health you can't take another hit, but the field bought you breathing room and the bell is still ringing. Reload fast, then gun down the nearest threat. Salt shots dry, you crack the cylinder, thumb in fresh salt rounds, and swing on the kudzu wraith at 14 meters. A chemical blast tears through its regenerating vines, purging the green and dropping it in a smoking heap. 2 kills already rotting at your boots, 1 more is due. Advance and gun down everything in your path. Your operator is running on fumes and faith, 14 health, empty pistol, knee-deep in black water with 5 drowned contacts closing the net. The sawed-off gospel swings hot. 2 devastating shrapnel blasts tear through the kudzu wraith cluster and riverboat revenant before the preacher wades forward into the rusted levee golem and hooks it apart with the meat hook. The drowned congregation pair surge from the colonnade archways, both are cut down mid-rush, black water swallowing their dissolving forms. Sweep submerged antebellum plantat for stragglers and lock it down. You're running on fumes, preacher, health in the red, gospel empty. You sweep the flooded parlor with the salt shot pistol, driving back a riverboat revenant trying to drag itself through the colonnade wreckage. The iron bell tolls again and two more drowned congregation rise from the black water, but the bell rope hangs exposed. You've cleared enough of the room to reach the belfry pole. The sector is locked down. Silence that bell next turn or they'll keep rising. Break away and take cover, pop jar of black locusts, then re-engage from safety. Your operator hurls himself behind a collapsed colonnade, black water spraying as he skids into cover, then slings the jar of black locusts into the heart of the room. Gravity inverts in a screaming 20-meter radius. The drowned congregation pair, the wounded riverboat revenant, and the iron bell rope itself all wrench skyward in a roar of brackish water and splintered wood before slamming back down. Both congregation units are shattered on impact. The revenant drops to single digits. The bell rope snaps taut, cracking against the belfry cradle. 18 HP sheared off the objective. Reload fast, then gun down iron bell rope at 14 meters. Salt shot pistol's cracked cylinder snaps open. You thumb in 6 fresh salt rounds and slam it shut in one practiced motion. You pivot hard, level the barrel at the fraying bell rope 14 meters up the colonnade, and fire twice, chemical blasts scouring the rope's corroded iron hook mount in bursts of white salt fire. The rope shreds, snapping free from its housing with a violent crack. The great iron bell lurches, tips, and goes silent mid-toll, its summoning peal cut dead. Reload fast, then incinerate riverboat revenant at 20 meters. You crack the salt shot pistol open, fingers slick with swamp water, and slam 6 fresh salt rounds into the cylinder, but you're dry on ammo, preacher, scraping the last shells you've got. The pistol barks a blinding chemical blast into the riverboat revenant at 20 meters, salt fire scorching through the barnacle plating and dropping the wretch face down into the black floodwater. Contact down. You're standing at 7 health with enemies inbound. Push for the black pulpit or you're a sermon nobody finishes. Reload fast, then gun down the nearest threat. Salt shot pistol cracked open, fresh shells rammed home, but the mag's dry, preacher. You're pulling from reserve and there's nothing left to pull. The parlor's quiet now except for the groan of waterlogged timber and the slow drip of floodwater through the bell rope pulley above. Contacts at 0, sector cold. Push north toward the gas-lit amphitheater before the silence breaks. Push hard to gas-lit levee camp amphitheater and strike anything in the way. 7 health, empty gospel, bad odds. You swap to the salt shot pistol and push hard north through the black water, boots churning through knee-deep flood toward the gas flicker of the levee camp. A straggler drowned congregation lurches out of the cypress shadows. You level the pistol and blow a blinding chemical blast straight through its unholy aura, dropping it before it can call the rest. The amphitheater gas lights are close now, close enough to smell the burning kudzu and hear the low sermon drone building ahead. Reload fast, then pummel levee camp glow at 55 meters. Your salt shot pistol is bone dry. You crack it open and thumb in 6 fresh shells of blinding chemical brine, hands shaking at 5 health. Levee camp glow isn't an enemy to pummel, it's the amphitheater's burning gas ring, your arrival beacon. You're already inside the black pulpit. The mud trembles beneath your boots as something vast and wet begins to surface. Stay on the break away and take cover, pop jar of black locusts, then re-engage. You break hard left through the flooded pulpit wreckage, boots churning black water, and hurl the jar of black locusts into the arena's heart. Local gravity inverts with a wet, shrieking crack, launching Mother Drown skyward again, roots thrashing helplessly as the drowned congregation spirals up beside her like cursed confetti. You press into cover behind a collapsed pew stack, heart hammering at 2 health, buying precious seconds as the swarm and the matriarch hang suspended, exposed, suspended, bleeding altitude. Stay on the Mother Drown, gun down it relentlessly and don't let up. You lock the salt shot pistol on Mother Drown's exposed root flesh. 4 blinding chemical blasts tear into her marked weak points as she twists in the last of the locust column's grip, the holy purge salt dissolving kudzu sinew and flooding her regeneration with searing white corruption. She screams a sermon in reverse, black water erupting from her maw, but the fall damage from last turn still racks her frame and your shots land clean. She's bleeding ichor into the floodwater, phase 1 is cracking, but so are you. Furious self-revive. The swamp preacher convulses in the black floodwater, one hand slamming the buried self-revive cache. A cracked vial of bayou black ichor floods the veins, and the revenant rises, gasping and righteous. Salt-crusted eyes snap open, Mother Drown looms 52 meters north, root flesh still weeping from last turn's gospel. The congregation mill around her feet, they don't know you're back. They will. Reload fast, then incinerate gas ring pulpit at 14 meters. Your salt shot pistol snaps open, 6 fresh shells rammed home, cylinder locked. You pivot and unload 2 blasts point blank into the gas ring pulpit's corroded brass fixtures, chemical fire eats the gas lamp network, and the amphitheater erupts in a column of orange bile flame that scorches the fog for 30 meters. Mother Drown shudders, the arena's floodwater source just went dark. Reload fast, then incinerate gas ring pulpit at 12 meters. Your salt shot pistol is bone dry, you crack the cylinder, thumb in 6 fresh shells, and fan the hammer toward the gas ring pulpit fixture at 12 meters. The chemical slugs tear into the brass manifold and ignite residual gas pockets in a chain of searing orange detonations. The fixture ruptures outward in a halo of burning kudzu and scalding chemical mist. Mother Drown shrieks at the far edge, her root flesh seared by proximity, she's already marked, and the inferno strips another chunk from her bloated hide. Stay on the Mother Drown, incinerate it relentlessly and don't let up. Salt shot is bone dry, you slam the sawed-off gospel off your back and close the gap on Mother Drown's marked root flesh, both barrels howling rusted shrapnel into her bloated torso. The drowned congregation surges to screen her, but your spread punishes them too, shredding the last of the unholy mob in the same infernal breath. Mother Drown shrieks, kudzu tendrils whipping the floodwater as her HP craters, she is close to the phase break. Focus everything on the Mother Drown, trigger Sinner's Purgatory, incinerate it and finish the kill. You call down Sinner's Purgatory, the black pulpit floor splits and black mud swallows Mother Drown whole, her bloated kudzu flesh screaming as stasis roots her in place, bleeding HP each cycle. Your gospel is dry, so you draw the salt shot pistol and walk the barrel right into her exposed root flesh, pumping chemical blasts into every suppurating wound the shrapnel already opened. The marked weak points detonate in sequence, rotted heartwood shatters, floodwater pours from her hollow core, and Mother Drown collapses face first into the burning muck. Phase 1 is done. Break away and take cover, pop jar of black locusts, then re-engage from safety. You wrench sideways through knee-deep floodwater, boots sucking at purgatory mud as the Iron Deacon's sermon cannon sweeps the space you just vacated. The jar of black locusts shatters against the amphitheater floor, a deafening inverse roar tears upward and the rusted mechanical preacher is flung skyward, hull plates groaning, corroded joints screaming against sudden weightlessness. It crashes back into the black water with a cathedral bell impact, stunned and partially submerged, hull cracked along the torso seam. Stay on to the Iron Deacon, incinerate it relentlessly and don't let up. Your gospel is bone dry, you swing to the salt shot pistol and open up on the Iron Deacon's exposed cracked hull while it's still half submerged and disabled, chemical blasts eating into its sermon wire guts and scorching the corroded chest plate. The construct shrieks a garbled hymn, sparks erupting from the breach as you pour every round into that wound. It's dragging itself upright, hull stripped, but phase 2 is live. Break away and take cover, pop jar of black locusts, then re-engage from safety. You wrench back through black floodwater, boots sucking mud as you hurl the jar of black locusts. It shatters against the Iron Deacon's chest and local gravity inverts with a shriek of scripture wire and insect thunder. The construct rockets skyward, trailing sparks and torn hull plating, sermon feeders ripping free, before it crashes back down into the amphitheater floor with a bone-splitting impact that shakes the gas ring flames. You're behind the collapsed pulpit pew, breathing hard, the deacon is staggered, hull cracked open, weak point exposed. Stay on to the Iron Deacon, strike it relentlessly and don't let up. Your gospel is bone dry, you swap to the salt shot pistol and open fire on the marked hull of the Iron Deacon, blasting chemical rounds into the split seam across its chest cavity. The purging blast scorches the sermon wire broadcast array, stripping another layer of corroded plating from the exposed rib frame while the amber gas ring gutters overhead. It's still standing, still screaming scripture, but it's bleeding rust and light. Break away and take cover, pop jar of black locusts, then re-engage from safety. You crack the jar of black locusts mid-sprint, shattering it against the flooded amphitheater floor. Reverse gravity screams outward in a 20-meter radius and the Iron Deacon lurches skyward, rusted sermon wire trailing like a hanged man's rope, before gravity snatches it back down with a catastrophic hull-crumpling impact. You've bought a breath behind the collapsed pew stack, 8 health, Deacon battered and marked, but it's still breathing iron and scripture. Stay on to the Iron Deacon, strike it relentlessly and don't let up. Your gospel is dry, 0 shrapnel left in the breach. You swap to the salt shot pistol and open up on the Iron Deacon's marked hull, blinding chemical blasts purging its sermon broadcast and scorching the cracked plating at 55 meters. The construct staggers, hydraulic fluid weeping black into the floodwater, but it is still standing and it is still furious. Break away and take cover, pop jar of black locusts, then re-engage from safety. You wrench sideways through black floodwater, boots sucking at the pulpit muck, and hurl the jar of black locusts. The glass shatters and a screaming gravity inversion swallows the amphitheater, ripping the Iron Deacon's corroded frame off its feet and slamming it back down onto the cracked stone with a hull-splitting crash. At 2 health you cannot take another hit, but the Deacon is pinned, sparking, and your marked chest cavity is wide open for one more savage play. Stay on to the Iron Deacon, gun down it relentlessly and don't let up. Salt shots dry, your pistol clicks hollow on a spent mag. You drop the secondary and rake the meat hook across the Iron Deacon's marked chest cavity, dragging torn hull plating free in a shriek of corroded iron as violet sparks fountain from the exposed gearing. The construct lurches, servos grinding, its sermon broadcast crackling into static. It's barely standing at 2 HP, and so are you. Break away and take cover, pop jar of black locusts, then re-engage from safety. You wrench the meat hook free and hurl the jar of black locusts at the Iron Deacon's feet. The glass shatters and reversed gravity seizes the construct, slamming it skyward before it crashes back down into the black floodwater with a concussive boom. The fall damage shreds the last of its cracked hull plating and the Iron Deacon's sermon engine goes dark, mid-benediction, face down in the mire. The black pulpit falls silent except for the hiss of extinguished gas rings and the drowning buzz of spent locusts.